I never thought I'd be that kind of woman, the sort who doubted her own sanity, not after everything. While she was ill for so long, grieving setbacks and heartbreak, I was always the strong one, the planner they'd been through, raising children alone while my husband worked overseas, taking care of my mother's caretaker, the anchor. But on the morning of my husband's funeral, something happened that cracked the foundation of everything I believed about myself. It started with a phone. Not ringing, not buzzing, but just sitting there, silent, yet glowing, as if someone had used it recently. My husband's phone, the one I had buried in his suit jacket just 2 days before. I froze in the doorway of our bedroom, staring at the device resting on my pillow, lit with a notification from an unknown number. I couldn't breathe for a moment. I just remember whispering to myself, no, this can't be real. I walked toward it slowly, as one would approach a wild animal. My hands shook when I picked it up. One new message. I am out. I need to talk to you. Do not trust anyone. I dropped the phone onto the bed. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be. Elijah, my husband, was dead. I had seen the body. I had signed papers. I had watched the coffin lower into the ground. This had to be a trick, a cruel joke, maybe even a scam. But then the phone pinged again. Lena, please, it's me. My heart slammed in my chest, my vision blurred, and my knees almost buckled. Impossible. He was gone. I sat on the edge of the bed, forcing myself to breathe, to think, because the truth was, for months before Elijah died, I had been forgetting things, losing items, misplacing keys, missing appointments, saying things I didn't remember saying. My son Marcus was sure it was early dementia. My daughter-in-law Kira pushed me to see the doctors, her friends, and her recommendations. Every doctor said I needed more tests, more evaluations, more monitoring. I had begun to doubt everything about myself. But this was too far. I knew I hadn't put that phone on my pillow. Someone had put it there. But who? I lifted the phone once more, my hands trembling. Against every rational impulse I had left, I typed, "If this is Elijah, prove it." The response was immediate. Look behind the loose panel in the attic wall, the one only you and I know about, the one where we kept the letters from before Marcus was born. My breath caught. No one knew about that hiding spot, not even Marcus, not even my best friend, just Elijah and me. That was the moment my blood ran cold. Either this was really my husband, or whoever was doing this knew far too much about my life. I grabbed a flashlight and climbed into the attic, my legs shaking, heart pounding. The air smelled like dust. The wooden beams groaned under my weight. The panel was still there, still slightly uneven, still covered with a thin film of dust. I reached for it. My fingers had barely touched the wood when my eyes welled up with tears. It slid open. Inside, an envelope, fresh, clean, not dusty like everything else. It had my name on it, in Elijah's handwriting. The room spun. My chest tightened. I tore it open with trembling hands. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Lena, if you are reading this, then the plan failed. Or perhaps it succeeded, but not the way I intended. Do not trust Marcus. Do not trust Kira. They know more than you think, and they will do anything to get what they want. I collapsed to the attic floor as the flashlight rolled beside me. I felt sick, terrified, confused. My son, the same boy I held when he took his first steps, the boy who cried in my lap after his first heartbreak, the man who hugged me at Elijah's funeral and whispered, "We'll take care of you now, Mom?" No, it couldn't be. Elijah had to be wrong. Marcus loved me. He had to. But why had he been so eager to assume total control over my finances? Why did he insist I stop driving? Why had he pushed so hard for me to sign that medical power of attorney? Everything suddenly felt like a puzzle I had refused to see. I made myself stand. I climbed down again from the attic, carrying the letter with me. My mind spun so fast it ached. If Elijah faked his death, why? And where was he? But more to the point, why was he warning me about our own child? I didn't have time to think. As I stepped out into the hallway, I heard something that froze me. The front door opening, not gently, not quietly, but forcibly, like someone was letting themselves in without knocking. I held my breath. The floorboard creaked. Then I heard Marcus's voice, low but urgent. "Mom, are you home? We need to talk." I backed up, instinctively, fear climbing up my throat. Marcus stepped into the hall, Kira close behind him. Both wore strained expressions, their faces too tight. "Mom," Marcus said again, "we have something important to discuss." Kira's eyes darted to my hands, to the letter. Her pupils were constricted. Her face stretched into a strange, sharp smile. "There it is," she said. "What?" I whispered. "The last piece." I didn't understand. I didn't want to. Marcus took a slow step towards me. "Mom," he said, too gently, "we need for you to come with us. The doctor's waiting, the one who can help with your confusion." My confusion, my dementia, my memory issues. And then it struck me. Like a bolt of lightning. My lost items, my misplaced medication, my forgotten conversations, the pressure to see doctors. It wasn't real. They had been doing it to me, gaslighting me, manipulating me, setting me up. And now they wanted to finish what they'd started. I looked at Marcus, my dear boy, and for the first time in my life, I was afraid of him. I stepped back as Marcus pressed nearer. His voice was syrupy soft, the same pitch he used to convince me to sign permission slips I hadn't read years ago. "Mom," he said, "the doctor can help. You've been confused lately. Things have been getting worse." My throat constricted. My mind was screaming to run, but my legs were frozen. "I'm not confused," I whispered. Kira smiled in such a way that made my stomach twist. "It's okay. That's what everyone says at first." Like they'd already made up their mind about it. Marcus reached out, slowly, as if approaching a frightened animal. "Come on, Mom. We'll take you to the clinic. You'll stay for a few days, just for evaluation." Stay, evaluation, clinic, all words that sounded far too permanent. I clutched Elijah's letter to my chest. What is this about? Money? My house? What are you doing? Marcus flinched, just slightly, like I hit a nerve. Then he spoke carefully. "This is about helping you. You don't trust your own memory anymore. You told me yourself that you keep forgetting things, that you're scared. I told you because I thought you cared," I snapped. "I do," he insisted, but his eyes darted to Kira, who gave him a slight nod. Something inside me cracked, a realization so sharp that hurt. Marcus wasn't the leader in this. Kira was. And she was enjoying every moment. "You're making a mistake," I said. Kira chuckled quietly. "No, Lena, you are. You put us in charge. You signed the papers. You can't take that back now." Slowly, I shook my head. "You set me up." She shrugged. "We made sure you got the help you needed. That's all." Help. They kept using that word like a weapon. Marcus stepped forward again. "Mom, don't make this difficult." I tried to keep my voice steady, but fear made it tremble. "Your father warned me about you." The effect was immediate. Marcus froze. His face changed in an instant. Fear, anger, shock, all tangled together. "What did you say?" I held up the letter. "Your father told me not to trust you." Marcus's eyes went wide with something almost feral. He reached out quickly, trying to snatch the letter from my hand. I jerked backward. "Give me that," he demanded, his voice cracking. Kira spoke up suddenly, her voice sharp. "Marcus, stop." But it was too late, for he had shown me exactly what I needed to know. He wanted the letter gone, which meant Elijah's warning was real. My pulse thundered in my ears. I needed to get out. I needed time to think, to breathe, to understand what the hell was happening. I took a step backward. Marcus took a step forward. "Mom," he said, forcing calm into his voice, "you're not well. Let me help you." "No." He blinked. "What?" "No," I said again, loudly. "You're not taking me anywhere." Kira's smile was gone. Her voice went cold. "Lena, you don't have a choice." My heart was hammered. I looked at the front door. It was behind them. The back door was too far, the windows too high. But then I remembered something. The basement. There was a second exterior door down there behind the old shelving. Hard to open quietly, but not impossible. And most importantly, Marcus didn't know about it. It was among the few things that Elijah and I had never updated them on. I forced myself to breathe, to think. If I could get there, I could slip out, run to Mrs. Helper next door, call the police, call anyone. But I needed a distraction, and I only had one thing that they wanted. In my hand was the letter, the warning from Elijah, proof that something was terribly wrong. Marcus's eyes followed it like a predator tracking prey. Good. I forced my voice to steady. "Fine," I said. "You want it? Come take it." Both Marcus and Kira still. Then Marcus dived. The instant his fingers touched the paper, I snatched the letter from him and whirled towards the kitchen, running as fast as my shaking legs could carry me. "Mom!" Marcus yelled from behind me. I didn't look back. I ran down the hall, nearly slipping on the hardwood floor. My breath came in sharp, painful bursts. I reached the kitchen and pulled open the door to the basement. The old hinges screamed loudly. "Too loud." "She's going downstairs," shouted Marcus. I flew down the wooden steps, nearly falling. Halfway down, I twisted my ankle, but forced myself to keep going. Down at the bottom, I rammed a heavy storage bin in front of the steps. Pathetic defense, but it slowed them. For seconds, maybe less. I heard them coming after me, their feet pounding. "Mom, stop!" shouted Marcus. I ignored him, running toward the far wall of the basement. I grabbed the rusted handle of the hidden door behind the shelving. It stuck. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no, please." I pulled harder. It didn't budge. I could hear him throwing the storage bin aside. Every crash was like a countdown to disaster. I slammed my shoulder into the door. It creaked. Another shove. It opened an inch, cold air rushing in. Behind me, Marcus yelled, "Get her!" I pressed my full body weight against the door. It burst open, just as Marcus reached the bottom step. For one terrifying second, our eyes locked. His were full of rage, betrayal, panic. Then I slipped out into the night, slamming the door behind me. I ran. I didn't stop to breathe. I didn't stop crying. Didn't stop to think. I just ran. Through the yard, across the neighbor's driveway, toward the single porch light glowing in the darkness. Mrs. Halpern's house. My lungs burned, my ankle throbbed, and my hands shook violently. I reached her porch and pounded on the door. "Please, open the door, please." Behind me, I heard the basement door crash open. Then Marcus's voice, furious and desperate. "Mom, come back. You don't understand." I kept pounding. "Please, somebody help." The porch light flicked on. The door creaked open. And there, standing in the doorway in her robe, was 83-year-old Mrs. Halpern. "Lena," she said, eyes wide, "what on earth?" I stumbled past her into the house. "Please," I gasped, "lock the door. Lock it, now." I did not sleep the night after Elijah was buried. I kept turning in bed, waiting for my old habits to fade, waiting for him to walk in, cough, or adjust the lamp the way he always did. But the house stayed silent, too silent. I kept reminding myself, he's alive, he's safe, this is the price for saving him. When I came out onto the porch the next morning, it was chilly enough that the cold air stung my cheeks. Lying on the doormat was a small brown envelope. No stamp, no postmark, just my name, in handwriting I knew well. My son Marcus's. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Mom," it began, "I need to talk to you. Alone." No explanation, no condolences, no word about Elijah's death. Only a request. A demand, really. And finally, at the bottom, a location. "Meet me at Dad's workshop tonight at 9. Don't tell anyone." My stomach twisted. The workshop was where Elijah kept all his tools, where he repaired clocks, carved wood, fixed old radios. It was his happy place, and it was the last place I wanted to be now that I was supposed to believe he was gone. I didn't know whether to go or not. It felt like a trap, emotionally or otherwise. But one thing I had learned over the past months was this. When Marcus wanted something, he didn't stop until he got it. So I went. The workshop was dark, except for a single lamp glowing inside when I reached it. I pushed the door open slowly. My breath caught in my throat. Marcus sat in Elijah's chair, twirling the chair from side to side, surveying the workshop as though estimating the value of every item within. "So you came," he said, without looking up. "What do you want, Marcus?" I whispered. He stood, turned, and for the first time in years, I truly saw him, pale, jittery, eyes darting like a man who had too much to lose. "You didn't answer my calls," he said. "You cut me out. And then Dad dies? Just like that?" I froze. How much did he suspect? "People die, Marcus," I said quietly. "It happens." He stepped closer. Too close. "Not Dad," he hissed. "Not like that. He was healthy. He was strong. And now he's gone. And suddenly the house is going to be sold, and I get nothing? Nothing, Mom." Ah, there it was. The truth beneath the grief he pretended to feel. "Your father didn't owe you anything," I said. "Neither do I." Marcus slammed his hand against the workbench, sending tools scattering. "You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know what you're doing? You're hiding something, and I'm going to find out." I stepped back toward the exit. "I'm going home." "No," he said sharply. "You're not." I stared at him, my heart pounding. "What are you going to do, Marcus?" He didn't say a word. Instead, he strode to Elijah's locked cabinet, the one wherein lay expensive tools and some old keepsakes, and Marcus pulled a rod of thin metal out of his jacket. He was picking the lock. "Marcus, stop that!" He didn't. Within seconds, the lock popped open. He rummaged inside, throwing things around, muttering to himself like a man possessed. Then he froze. He had found the small wooden box. The box Elijah had fashioned with his own hands. The box that held the documents. Fake death records, medical reports, everything Theo had arranged. "What's this?" Marcus asked. "Put it back," I said. My throat tightened. If he opened that box, everything would unravel. He opened it. His face hardened when he saw the papers. Something behind his eyes changed. Something dark. Something dangerous. "You lied," he whispered. "You lied to everyone. Dad's not dead." I opened my mouth to say something, but nothing came forth. Marcus took a step toward me, clutching the papers so tightly that they crinkled in his fists. "You faked his death to cut me out, to keep the house, to keep everything from me." "That's not true," I whispered. "Save it," he spat. "You and Dad always thought I wasn't good enough, but I'm your son. I have rights. And now," he lifted the papers, "I have proof." "What do you want, Marcus?" I was forced out. He smiled, a slow, cold smile that I had never seen on my own child. "Money," he said. "Enough to pay off my debts, enough to start over. And in return, I won't go to the police." I almost buckled at the knees. "You'd send us to prison?" I whispered. He shrugged. "If I have to." I'd never been this scared, not during Elijah's heart attacks, not when it seemed like Kira was trying to push me out of my own home. This was something new and something worse. This was the realization that my son, my only child, no longer viewed me as his mother. He saw me as leverage.
"You have until the end of the week," he said, tucking the papers into his jacket. "Don't make me do something drastic." He brushed past me, the smell of cigarette smoke and desperation trailing after him. I collapsed into Elijah's chair, staring at the empty doorway when he left. I couldn't even breathe. Marcus had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. He had discovered the lie. He had weaponized it. And he wasn't finished, not even close. I drove back that night to Elijah's cabin, our secret hideout, with my mind racing. Elijah opened the door before I even knocked. "Lena?" he asked, looking at my face. "What happened?" I broke. I told him everything. Every word Marcus said, every threat he made. When I finished, Elijah sat down slowly and pressed his hands to his face. "He's not just trying to punish us," he said in a hollow voice. "He's desperate. Desperate people do reckless things." I stared at him. "Elijah, what if he goes to the police?" He didn't answer. "Elijah, what if he comes here?" He looked up, and that fear in his eyes said it all for me. Marcus wasn't going to stop at blackmail. He wasn't going to stop at threats. He was spiraling, he was angry, and he had nothing left to lose. That is the most dangerous kind of man. Over the next 2 days, Elijah hardly slept. He was like a lion in a cage, pacing the cabin, checking the windows, testing the locks, making sure the car was always filled with gas. Every little sound made him jumpy. A branch snapped outside. Elijah grabbed the baseball bat we kept by the door. A car slowed down on the nearby road. He peeked through the blinds until it drove off. I wanted to believe he was overreacting. I wanted to believe that Marcus, the boy I raised, the boy whose scraped knees I had kissed, whose nightmares I had soothed, would never actually hurt us. But that belief was fading, fast. It was on the third morning that Elijah came into the kitchen with a decision written all over his face. "We're leaving," he said, "today. We're driving far, mountains maybe, or north where no one knows us. We'll disappear for real this time." My chest tightened. Running again won't fix anything. It's what keeps us alive. I didn't answer because I wasn't sure he was wrong. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. It read, "Midnight, come alone, or I tell the police everything." No place, no directions, just the same cold pressure he had utilized his entire life. Control through fear. Elijah read the message over my shoulder, and he sharply exhaled. "No, no, Lena, you're not going anywhere near him." "He'll go to the police," I whispered. "Then let him," Elijah snapped. "I'd rather face a judge than let that boy corner you again." "Corner us," I corrected. "He's not just threatening me." Elijah's jaw clenched. He stopped being our son the moment he chose money over our freedom. I looked down at my hands, at the lines carved into my skin from decades of loving too hard. "Elijah," I whispered, "we have to do something." He paced again, his hand raking through his hair, just as it had all those years ago when life overwhelmed him. A moment passed before he stopped, turned to me, and spoke in a low, unsteady voice. "If Marcus wants to talk at midnight, then we won't be there alone." Before I could ask what he meant, Elijah grabbed his keys. "We're going to see Theo." Theo, our lawyer, wasn't just good. He was smart, calm, and had a real talent for making problems shrink instead of grow. When we explained everything, he listened without interrupting, tapping his pen rhythmically against the desk. After we were done, he let out a sigh. "Your son's not thinking rationally," he said. "A desperate person who thinks he's owed something, that's a dangerous combination." "That's what I told her," muttered. Theo continued, "You cannot meet him alone, Lena. You cannot give him money. And you cannot run. Running makes you look guilty, even if this whole mess started with good intentions." "So what do we do?" I asked. Theo leaned forward. "You prepare, you document everything, you answer no threats. And if he escalates," he looked right at Elijah, "you call me before you do anything stupid." Elijah grunted, not promising anything. As we were about to leave, Theo said, "One more thing. If he has the documents, then he's holding dynamite. But remember, dynamite explodes on the person holding it too." It wasn't until afterward that we realized how right he was. That night, hours before midnight, Elijah sat by the fire, sharpening the garden shears. Not because he was planning to use them, because it kept his hands busy, because fear, if left to its own devices, grows teeth. I made tea, though my hands shook too much. My phone buzzed again at 11:45. Another message from Marcus. Meet me at the old quarry. Midnight. If Dad's alive, bring him. My heart stopped. Elijah snatched the phone from my hand. He wants to force you to prove it. He wants to force you out of hiding, I whispered. Elijah's eyes narrowed. He's not going to get what he wants.
We argued for several minutes, him demanding that I stay away, me insisting we had no choice. Deep down, though, we knew the truth. If we didn't show up, he would go straight to the police, and then everything would be out of our hands. We were in the car driving to the quarry by 11:58. The quarry was massive, an open, echoing pit of stone and silence. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the ground. It looked like the kind of place where secrets went to die. Marcus stood near the edge, his hands in his pockets, his shoulders tense. He looked smaller than I had remembered. As we approached, he turned, and his face contorted with shock. "Elijah?" he breathed. You're actually alive." Elijah stepped in front of me protectively. "You wanted proof, you have it." Marcus blinked several times, as if trying to choose between triumph and rage. "You lied to everyone," he said, his voice cracking. "You lied to me." "You lied to us first," Elijah shot back. "You and Kira both." Marcus flinched, a sign of guilt or resentment. "Why?" he finally demanded. "Why go this far to cut me out like I'm nothing?" "You made us nothing in your life," replied Elijah. "Every time you needed money, we were family. Every time we needed honesty, you disappeared." "That's not fair," Marcus shouted. "Isn't it?" Marcus took a shaky step forward. "I'm your son." "And?" Elijah asked point blank. "What do you think that entitles you to?" Marcus's face twisted. He looked like a scared child all over again. Then something in him snapped. "I want what you owe me," he growled. "I want what every child deserves." Elijah shook his head. "You're not a child, Marcus, and you don't deserve anything you tried to take by force." Marcus's voice rose. "I tried to take it? You faked your death. You broke the law. You lied to me." Elijah didn't flinch. "I lied to save myself from you." Marcus stumbled back as if struck. I stepped forward gently. "Marcus, please, the path you're on, it doesn't end well." He stared at me, eyes wild. "You think I care about a path? I care about what's mine, and if you don't give it to me..." His hand tightened inside his jacket. "I'll make sure you both lose everything." "Marcus," Elijah said quietly, "what are you holding?" Marcus's hand shook. He pulled out not a weapon, but the wooden box. The box with every incriminating document inside. He held it over the edge of the quarry. "You give me the money," he whispered, "or I drop this, and then I go to the police." I gasped. "Marcus, no. If those papers scatter..." "You'll have nothing," he said. "Nothing to hide behind." Elijah took a deep breath. "Son, think carefully." Marcus tightened his grip. "I already have." But then his foot slipped. Just a little. Enough to make him lose his balance. Enough to make the wooden box wobble. Enough to make me scream. "Marcus!" His hand jerked. The box tilted. Time slowed. And suddenly, the box fell from his fingers. But that wasn't the part that terrified me. The part that terrified me was that Marcus tried to catch it, and his feet slid toward the edge with it. Elijah sprang. Marcus screamed. And in an instant that would haunt me for the rest of my life, the son we once loved, the man he had become, the boy who asked for the world, began to fall. Marcus stepped forward. His face was twisted with a mixture of panic
anger, and desperation. Elijah remained calm, but I could see his jaw tighten the minute Marcus raised his voice. "You ruined everything," Marcus yelled, his finger pointing at Elijah. Elijah's eyes narrowed. "Son, listen to yourself. Do you hear what you're saying?" But Marcus wasn't listening. His breathing turned harsh, and sweat began to gather on his forehead. Kira was standing behind him, trembling, watching as what was happening got out of control, yet doing nothing to stop it. Marcus took another step closer to Elijah, his hand rising as if to push him back. Elijah didn't budge. He just stood his ground. "Marcus, stop," I said, taking a step toward them. "Please, don't make this worse." But he was past hearing me. He pushed Elijah in the chest, but not hard enough to hurt him, only enough to show his anger. Elijah stepped backward, hands up in a placating gesture. "Marcus, we can talk. Just calm down." "No," Marcus screamed. "I'm not losing everything because of you two." Forward, he lunged again. This time, Elijah reached out, grabbing Marcus's wrist to stop him. It wasn't an attack, just a reflex to keep the situation from escalating. But Marcus jerked his arm back forcefully. His foot came down half on the edge of the patio step, half on the slick patch of polished stone. His ankle twisted, his body pitched backward. "Marcus!" I screamed. It all occurred in a single terrible second. His heel slipped. His eyes went wide with pure shock. His body flipped backward off the edge of the patio. He hit the ground below with a heavy, sickening thud. None of us stirred for a moment. The world went silent, to the extent that I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Kira shrieked and ran to the edge, peering over. Elijah stood stock still beside me, his face white. I felt my legs give out, and I dropped to my knees, my hand covering my mouth. "Elijah," I whispered, my voice barely more than air. But I knew. Marcus wasn't moving. Elijah ran down the steps, and I forced myself to follow on trembling legs. By the time we reached Marcus, he was lying twisted on the stone walkway, his head at an unnatural angle. "Elijah," I pleaded, "tell me he's breathing, please." Elijah knelt beside him, placed his fingers on Marcus's neck, then gently attempted to adjust his shoulder. Kira stood a few feet away, her body shaking uncontrollably, her hands over her mouth. "Elijah," I repeated, tears blurring my vision. His eyes, full of sorrow, looked up to me. "Lena, he's gone." The world shattered. A sound escaped me that didn't feel human, a raw, broken cry pulled from the deepest part of my soul. I collapsed beside my son, touching his face with trembling fingers. Already, it was growing still, too still. My baby, I wept. "No, no, Marcus, no." Kira fell to her knees, screaming into her hands. Yet beneath the tears, I saw something flicker across her face. Fear, not grief. Elijah sat beside me and laid a comforting hand on my back, but I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I could only stare at the face of the child I had loved for 35 years. The child who had betrayed me, the child who had planned to destroy me, the child who had just died in front of me. I held his lifeless hand and cried until my voice was gone. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a terrifying question formed. Would they blame Elijah? Would they accuse him of murder? Because when greed becomes desperate, accidents don't matter. And I suddenly knew Marcus's death was just the beginning of something even darker.